Here's Flanders' Friend, chapter 25, called Lovely. You're lovely, she said, and she surprised Tim by leaning forward and kissing him on the lips. It felt lovely, soft and wet, thought Tim, and he opened his eyes and she was still kissing him. He was glad that his mum wasn't looking through the window. He wasn't sure if he could cope with the embarrassment. Well, that was a nice surprise, he said. When they pulled apart, Emma had a sparkle in her eyes, and it made Tim feel great inside. I'm sure I will see you at school tomorrow, she said, as she bounded along the road. Tim waved goodbye and then he went back home. Well, that was a lovely surprise, said his mum. She is lovely, she said, and his mum never missed anything. Yeah, she's great, said Tim, who was trying to act as unconcerned as possible, but inside he was glowing. That night he couldn't sleep and he couldn't stop thinking about Emma, and he couldn't wait for the next day to begin, so he could see her again. Tim woke early to the sound of the birds, and he got dressed and he looked in the mirror, and he admired himself in his smart school uniform. He was growing in confidence, and he walked to school with a spring in his step. Then Tim was dismayed to see Smigger once again. At the school gates, Tim raised his shoulders and he walked past Smigger without a thought, and Smigger gave him a long, hard look. But Tim just looked at him unconcerned. Then, to Tim's delight, Emma appeared, holding her books and smiling. She ran up to Tim and she gave him a big hug. All of the pupils at the gate turned round and stared. Smigger glared at them, and it was obvious that he was green with envy. And Tim gave him a smile, and then Tim and Emma walked to school hand in hand. It was too much for Smigger, and he turned to the nearest pupil to him and he gave him a shove. And the pupil looked surprised, and the next thing he knew, he was handing over money to Smigger. Smigger had found another victim. Emma and Tim watched from a distance. We'll have to do something about him, she said. You're right, said Tim, but what can we do? He said.